welcome. Happy full moon. Full moon in Leo. How's it feeling? It feels like really lovely, and I'm not a fan of the word juicy, but it feels appropriate. Feels like a juicy full moon. Leo being the heart of the zodiac. It feels like there's a lot of expansion of the heart consciousness and rising into leadership and so many dimensions to it that probably speak through different cosmological influences, not only this full moon, but many other aspects that are playing in. And yet here we are at the point from which we started about 2 weeks ago, looking at the intentions that we set around that new moon in Capricorn about what we wanted to stabilize our life with, looking at foundations. And maybe if you look back at the intentions you set, you may find that some of those things might have began to manifest, or there may be some messages forming for you around those themes, and asking what is at its point of completion, what's coming to fullness. It feels like a brand new cycle is upon us, and both this experience of the new coming in and releasing the old, the stuff that is holding up the space or preventing us from allowing the new to arrive because there's no space for it. So curious, drop in the comments, let me know how you're doing and if you're noticing anything shifting as far as foundations. I personally have seen that with like big things moving in my life, and especially around vehicles. And when I say that, it could be the vehicle of the body, it could actually be like your transportation vehicles, it could be your astral body, it could be what's happening while you sleep, it could be the vehicles of consciousness, the very many vehicles of consciousness that we operate in and through. Could be the vehicle in which you hold your money or move your money about, your identity, your career, your community. That's interesting. Those things just came in. So as we unite in this space together, we call forth transmissions of the highest truth and light, offering the wisdom that will help us to best assess this energy of the full moon and how to utilize it to our greatest potential and to serve our highest purpose. And with full thanks, so be it. So be it. I'm going to begin to just kind of rapidly pull cards today. I'm not entirely sure why that feels like what wants to happen, but it is. That's not traditionally how I do things, and even as I'm saying this, all of my decks, all of these pulls are upside down. So a lot's out of our control right now. It seems expect the unexpected is the message coming off as I pull these. And I'm working with multiple decks. The one that I've pulled 2 cards from is this Oracle of Pluto deck, which is new. It was a gift at Christmas time, and so I'm still getting to know it and getting accustomed to the different meanings in it. It works with the symbolism of animals. And obviously the shadow, as that's very scorpionic, plutonic. The hermit crab is the overall theme for this reading. And see what it has to say. The hermit crab says necessary withdrawal, introspection, exploration of the inner landscape, and growth. The other thing that comes to me with the hermit crab is that when they're seeking a new shell, if there's other crabs there, they will wait until all the crabs find their shell. So there's something also indicative about community and brotherhood, sisterhood, rehoming. This foundational energy again shifting, like how you identify out in the world, which as Pluto has moved into Aquarius, that may be one of the ways that it is starting to manifest. The tiny hermit crab scuttles along the ocean floor, ready to strike out and explore the surrounding environment. Despite its name, this crustacean isn't much of a hermit. That said, thanks to a trusty seashell home, this busybody knows when it's time to retreat inside. When the energy of the hermit crab has arrived in a reading, a certain withdrawal from the outside world is imperative. Have you been feeling that call? This is winter. Winter asks us to be introspective, to withdraw our energy from being so external and extroverted, to going back into that recreative cycle, which requires some introspection, some consideration, take an inventory, and then also a process of letting go. This card is a call to explore your inner landscape in search of answers, rather than to search for them in an outside source. For those of us who commit to the spiritual journey in a serious way, the energy of this card probably feels familiar. As much as we can learn from others, the spiritual path is ultimately one we walk alone. Carve out some time for yourself and see what wisdom rises to the surface. You might surprise yourself. I'm being pointed back to some thoughts that came to me right as I was preparing for the reading about as we invest in learning, as we invest in courses and retreats and schooling and certifications, even just reading books, as we engage with these learning processes, they offer us a lot. And yet the underlying teacher is always going to be life itself. There is book smarts, there is knowledge, and then there's wisdom, which is acquired from applied knowledge with intuition and experience. If you are destined to a certain path, life is going to provide you with the curriculum. So it's wonderful for us to have so many resources to go and study under. And yet, there's something in this message that's about really trusting the curriculum of your life and not thinking that it's out there, not thinking that your attainment, what you're going to achieve, your success, your influence is going to be achieved out there, but looking at the way, how is life initiating you or inviting you into accumulating deeper wisdom that no teacher can give you other than life and yourself, that inner guru. How many of you are allowing that process? How many of you are engaged with higher learning maybe right now? But are you balanced in receiving the lessons that life is giving you in other ways? Are you slow enough to observe and to witness? What lights you up? What lights you up, fam? Star seeds, you're awakening. If you're starting to have these maybe memories, and it could come both as visions, memories of other lifetimes, but it could also be this very strong sense of direction or of inner knowing, of recollection, of longing, even perhaps, of this, what I'm seeing in my world doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like what I remember. It doesn't feel like, it feels like there's something more. And the Starseed card, these are the many beings who have incarnated here on this earth to bring that memory back. And by bringing the memory back, we raise the consciousness so that there are, to clear the distortions or to neutralize the distortions that have been created within the field of consciousness and the earth here. This card says that it is starseeds are souls with a double mission: to raise their own consciousness and the consciousness of the planet. Old souls who have incarnated elsewhere beyond this planet. And they arrive with the feeling that time is running out and that there is something that they came here to do or create or to contribute. So once starseeds are awakened, these souls find it hard to have meaningless conversations, jobs, and relationships. They innately know that there is much more to life and feel that there is something more and get to work. They remain restless until they step into their calling, which is to light up the world with their unique presence. I have seen this activation really growing over the last year, and many are leaving jobs and entering into the healing arts community, and others are leaving jobs and not really sure where they're going, but the universe is delivering a lot of signs that are steering them towards being pioneers for the new waves of consciousness and the structures that will need to arise and are arising to oppose the downfall or to oppose the collapsing structures. So it's both this decomposure as also this growth, this birth, this death and rebirth that's happening simultaneously. And now is the time to get still, to get quiet, to go within, because you're not going to find your answer out there. You're not going to find what you're seeking out there. What you seek is seeking you, and it comes from within, and you will only find it within. The deeper that you're able to go inside of yourself, into the silence, into the stillness, you recognize that really every human being, every soul has a shared purpose, and that purpose is to be awake. Because as you are awake, you come to know the truth of who you are and not be limited by the old beliefs and programmings that you came in with that have kept you asleep and kept you a slave on this planet, and allow you to be the supreme expression of your soul, which fits perfectly in this interlocking consciousness that helps to create a whole new wheel of life, a whole new era, age. But right now we are not in the doing phase, we're in the being. How do we be first so we become? You have to be before you become. So my sense is with this reading is really calling you to go deeper into your solitude, into your practices that take you inside, that unify you within, so we may be unified without. And yet all along you will find that this doesn't just necessarily mean to be alone and in silence. You may find that there's actually a whole lot of people gathering right now and creating that experience of inner union while in the company of others. But it's because that company is also doing the same thing. There is a shared experience and a shared intention of unification through self-realization, self-stabilization, and self-study. And listening. I am really finding, as I'm working with people and assessing the energy bodies, that the ears are slightly off in almost everyone that I am encountering, and I think this has to do with the big shift of Pluto. And it's not that we're not hearing, it's that there's maybe some deception coming in from the lower self, from the shadow self, but also it's not fully lining up with the heart. So we're listening to the mind. The mental body is very strong, especially here in the West. The question is, are you listening to your heart? Are you doing more talking? Are you doing more requesting? Are you being really active? Are you being very engaged with just listening and appreciating the wisdom of the heart? Do you know the way that your heart speaks? Are you in touch with that inner wisdom that speaks through the heart? So I'm going to speak this middle card here is the Union card. It says, myself and soul are one, and it's from the Mary Magdalene deck. It says, in chapter 5 of Mary's Gospel, the disciples are terrified in the wake of Christ's crucifixion. They fear that they will be killed as well if they're caught by the Roman Empire. And then Mary stood up. Her Gospel reads, and I can see this so clearly. I can see her stand up among a sea of disciples, all huddled together on the ground, feeling defeated and afraid. Then Mary stood up and greeted them. She tenderly kissed them all and said, brothers and sisters, do not weep. Do not be distressed, nor be in doubt, for his grace will be with you, sheltering you. And it's saying that Mary stood up for the disciples in the moment of pure terror and became a presence of love among them. Mary stood up in the midst of great fear to be the love that Christ had been among them. Christ lived in a state of union. He had unified his egoic self with his full humanity, with his divinity, his eternal soul. He had become fully human and fully divine. The child of true humanity. Mary, in this state of union, stood up in the midst of panic to be a presence of love when love was most needed. And this is what Mary reminds us that we can do as well. We can practice living in a state of union by returning again and again to the soul that sits like a treasure here inside our very human hearts. We can practice becoming the presence of love when love is most needed. Oh. And I feel that many people, as they're awakening, and it comes in waves, that there are some who are not yet awake. And it will come as a shock to them as things begin to transition this year, and there may be shocking revelations. There may be things that totally flip people's perception of reality and themselves and will make them feel very disoriented. And this feels like a call to many of us to anchor ourselves into that inner knowing, into the inner stillness, so that as the storm proceeds, that we are able to be a beacon, we are able to stay grounded. And when we are in that place, when someone else is really caught in the storm and doesn't know up from down, left from right, or who they are, or what is God, and what is, whatever the opposite of that is, unconsciousness. To have something to reference, a point of reference, is crucial to their well-being, to the well-being of the planet. And it feels that there will be several points throughout this year that you will see people in your life totally lose grip, totally lose sight, and they may get very lost. And so the question is, can we arise in those moments to be the eye of the storm, to come into that inner union and to offer that to others? Follow this with the wolf card. And the wolf is intuition, silent observation, and shadows. Wolves are nocturnal creatures moving stealthily through the night as they hunt and resting throughout the day. Except when calling their pack to alert them of a successful kill, wolves are largely silent, watching and waiting for the perfect moment to make their move. A deep knowing through practiced observation and stillness enables their survival. The appearance of the wolf in a reading is first and foremost a call to step into your intuition. You are amid something that isn't as it seems, and it is through listening to that intuitive knowing that the truth will make itself known. This is a moment to pause, watch, and wait. Hold your cards close to your chest and take note of all that is revealed to you through this silent observation. You will know when it's time to make your move, but it's important not to act until then. Remember that time reveals all. What's ahead, fam? What's ahead? It's going to require courage. It's going to require courage. I find the inner strength to face fear with confidence. Are we slowing down? Are we slowing down enough to be with the winter? This isn't a time to put things off until next time. This isn't a time to put things off until the spring. This isn't a time to put things off until next week. This is time that when you get the invitation, when Spirit calls, for you to slow down, for you to shift gears, to not hesitate, to embrace and trust and to prioritize. I'm going to say that again. To embrace, trust, and prioritize the call of Spirit on your life to slow down and listen and to invest in coming to understand your intuition so that you do not second guess yourself, so that you do not allow your own coping mechanisms or your own shadow to override that inner awareness. This is very, very important right now. I can't stress it enough. And there's an invitation to work with crystals. If you have crystals, use your crystals to help you stabilize your field. Use them to help balance out your chakras. One of the game changers in meditation for me, when I first began to meditate, like close to 12 years ago now, was just holding a crystal in my hand. How much more quickly I could tune in, I could feel and perceive more clearly anything that was coming through. So working with the crystals, the energy of crystals support you and helps you stay present in whatever situation you're in. If you're moving through shadow material, look for crystals that will help you with that. Things like labradorite, things like obsidian, things like onyx, some of these darker crystals, maybe to help prevent any kind of energetic interference also from coming into the field, but engaging with your courage. Tiger's eye could also be powerful for that. And then, looking at where you feel maybe most deficient or excessive in your energy. And if you're familiar with the chakras, assessing, where are you deficient and where are you overstimulating, overactive. And then treat that accordingly with the crystals. I'm not giving any kind of medical advice here. Just got to say that. So we're going to go deeper with understanding how this may apply to you and to situations in your life right now. I'm going to come back to this card, but there's also a twin flame card out here. Twin flames aren't, I believe that there has been a great misrepresentation of what twin flames are, that it is a distortion in the spiritual field, a misunderstanding. And I will tell you, anything that tells you that your soul is outside of yourself has a distortion in it. Yes, there are always going to be reflections, but even with the twin flames, this idea that you are looking for yourself outside of yourself, it can only take you so far. There actually is a point in the awakening and transcendence of consciousness that it can be very helpful. I went through that process of false twin flame and then twin flame, and what it brought me to realize is that there was someone within my soul family who chose to incarnate and to essentially be a mirror that we would call a twin flame. It's a very specific type of mirroring that allows all of your stuff to get triggered and pulled up and healed. And yet, they are not half of your soul. They are simply another soul who is incarnated, who has a very similar soul resonance that can carry the frequencies necessary to polarize you to the self inside of you that has not awakened yet. And so through that, what you come to realize is actually it is the merging of the self, the lower, or how it was set up here, myself and the solar one, the lower self and the higher self. It is the merging of these two together. And not to diminish like the incredible love of soulmates who arrive to help us remember love, to ignite love in us, and to have these deep, very meaningful, soulful partnerships. And I'm sure that this is going to trigger people, but this is just what I have come to know as the truth. You can subscribe or not, but the truth is that we are all one, and that unity comes from acknowledging and recognizing and unifying ourselves inside, and not believing that any of it is found outside of us. The outside is, by the grace of the divine, a reflection to take us back to what we're looking for. So as we go deeper into this reading, this card, Ajna Durga. You need never lose faith in the power of good. You need never lose faith in how much you can accomplish as an independent and inspired individual in this world. You need never believe that you are alone or without divine protection. You need never fear evil. The third eye of the Divine Mother sees all things, is ever watchful and ever just. She births through holy vision the manifest power of good in all realms. Her gaze is upon you now. Trust her. Believe in the power of the divine to keep an eye on things for you. Trust that power to alert you when you need to know something or to understand what is happening in your life and what you need, even if you aren't so sure of that yourself at times. Actively contest negativity. When you feel something isn't coming from love, acknowledge it immediately. You don't have to make it about you or analyze it. Use your divine connection to deal with it promptly and effectively. Call for divine support in all things. You will not divert help from someone else if you ask for it for yourself. Allowing yourself to be helped empowers your path, which in turn helps all beings. Divine assistance is always there for you unconditionally. If you are not thinking the best thoughts, divine support will correct them. Never hesitate to call for that support. It is your greatest ally. Give up your attachments to past experiences of rejection and abandonment so that you can open to how much the divine loves you and can help you. Practice feeling confidence and unconditional trust in a higher power, knowing it is stronger than all else. Durga shines bright as a powerful warrior goddess and protector of the good and true. She is the unified potency of all divine forces of goodness and against negativity and evil. An icon for independence and divine power of the light, Durga is the solar mother who restores order and protects the human soul by destroying impurities such as jealousy, hatred, anger, and selfishness. Once, a particular adept demon looked like he was getting the upper hand in a battle with her. So Durga promptly birthed Kali out of her third eye. Kali, the black goddess, destroyed the demon ferociously and immediately. Durga comes into view when you have been fighting negative energies at some level, whether obviously in the world or more deeply within your soul. If you do not acknowledge this, you may fall prey to unnecessary confusion and self-doubt, believing that the issue can be dealt with as solely psychological matter. Instead, it is a spiritual issue that requires the divine intervention and protection now offered to you. It is helpful to remember that evil is not about people, but about the forces that operate through them with ill intent. Durga is an inextinguishable light, and she is rising within you now. Her presence reminds you of the light that is divine and true and therefore cannot ever be subject to any lesser power such as hate, fear, jealousy, spite, or greed. No matter how intimidating an opponent or situation may seem, they are no match for the sacred rage of the divine goddess of light and justice. She will vanquish the evil that haunts any soul and perpetuates distress. And this feels in this reading that this is awakened as we honor the shadows of who we are and we start to integrate those. We start to befriend our shadows and we welcome that deep power that resides inside of that unconscious patterning, inside of the places where really it is our soul. It is our soul calling for help, calling for us to see it and bring it into the light of awareness, integrating it back into the full human, allowing this to be what it is known as a reunion. Reunion. So calling in this part of the soul, this part of the deep night. And it's really, those are the parts that are able to engage with the darkness that we see out in others and in the world. As I say this, I'm being reminded of Tim Ballard, who he's the head of the Underground Railroad Project. If you don't know about that, you really should. If you haven't seen the document, The Sound of Freedom, you should. This is a man who lives with incredible integrity and devotion, has devoted his life to bringing light into the darkness of childhood trafficking and sex trafficking, which is an incredibly dark side of humanity. It is the shadow of humanity. It is one of the aspects of the shadow of humanity that is coming into illumination right now. And therefore, he is a great example of Durga, of this energy of, because of our own ownership of our darkness and our own ownership of being able to accept our darkness and to bring it in, we can use that experience and that power to counteract the darkness that we meet in the world. It's really only through meeting that we become fearless. We become fearless leaders. So the request is fearless leaders rise up. Everyone who is hearing this, it's a message specifically to you, is rise up. Remember, engage with these places where maybe you're getting invitations, you're seeing these themes and signals and signs. They're like, wow, there's something going on in me that's really wanting more attention, and maybe I'm avoiding it, maybe I'm looking away, or maybe you actually have started that engagement process and going into yourself and sitting with yourself and being with your inner child, being with your hurt. Giving yourself grace as you're noticing yourself lashing out or having these behavioral patterns, giving yourself the compassion that you deserve as a human who's here and is still struggling to come back into their fullness and the remembrance of their holiness. This transmission is like bringing in so much heat and so much energy, and I can feel the heart so alive in this. This is a transmission that's coming through the heart. And it's as if also it's wanting to be spoken to, this pair of the heart and the solar plexus, that the heart is able to come into its full force and its full activity and complete power and radiance only when the solar plexus is not obscured and restricted by the thoughts of the ego that may have fear and need to control things. It's only once we are able to fully surrender into the trust that we are backed, that we are protected, that we can move beyond the shadows of doubt and shame and fear and into that infinite unknown, into the eternal realm, the part of the soul. The soul knows it's eternal, and therefore it does not fear death, because death is something that is an illusion. There is only recreation. And so you may be experiencing now like these changes in your diet, changes in power. Oh, okay, this is where this Leo energy is coming in. This Leo energy of leadership. And no more power struggles. Are you power struggling somewhere? Are you withholding your energy, withholding your presence as a form of a power grab? Are you pushing? Are you dictating? What are you doing for power grabbing? Power for power's sake, as I've heard somebody recently say. Christopher Watucky, as a matter of fact, great astrologer. What are you doing, and where are you struggling? Where are you even like playing a tug of war with God, with the universe, with trying to maintain power over something, maybe power over yourself? Where are you holding power over yourself, as well as other situations? Are you letting others hold power over you? Are you letting money hold power over you? What is stopping you from taking your role of leadership now in this time? This says to nourish your heart and soul with all that is noble, beautiful, and enlightening. Go into your heart and begin to unite your energies with the divine within you. Everything in this reading says unite, go into the heart, unite, listen, use your intuition, have courage. This is such a potent portal that we're in with this full moon, to embrace the unknown, to embrace the fears, to let go, to surrender, and to drop into the eternal now, into the heart. Nourish your heart and soul with all that is noble, beautiful, and enlightening. What are you feeding yourself? Make sure that you are nourishing yourself. And you know, a lot of people don't even really know what that means. What does nourishment mean? And we can think of this in terms of food. If you were to have, let's say, a bag of chips, and then you were to have a bowl of quinoa and salad and fresh vegetables, which one do you think is nourishing to your body? One of those is empty calories, okay? And I think we know which one it is. And I'm not like, no food shaming or anything here. I'm trying to give an example of, we can acknowledge nourishment in that form, but what else is maybe not nourishing you that needs to go with this full moon? Are you listening to things? Are you watching things? And I always want to speak to media and everything that we're listening to. What I receive right now as I'm saying this is like media is astringent on the being. It's an astringent. It's not nourishing by any means. Mainstream media in particular, and there's a lot of other media sources too. I, for one, do not watch mainstream media. I do not want any of that negative, fear-based and opposing, dualistic, propagating propaganda in my life. And I always encourage other people to really consider if they need to find some kind of source to get input on what's happening in the world, to really research independent journalists. It's like a new age of independent journalists because the propaganda machine has gotten so out of control. So find the things that nourish you, not keep you in fight or flight, not keep you in fear, not keep your heart closed off, not keep you pointing fingers and perpetuating the shadow of yourself, the shadow of humanity by pointing fingers and demonizing. This is not the way. This is not the way, people. The way is the heart. It is the only way that we will ever live on a planet that honors the human experience and offers grace and love and compassion and empathy and understanding that we all have faults. We all have experienced living unconscious of making mistakes and behaviors that cause people to suffer. So let whoever is without sin cast the first stone. Just saying, we can tie a lot of this back to scripture too. It's a time to refine yourself and to go through this process that Durga invites us in, to clarify our being by detoxifying. Get rid of anything that is polarizing you to toxicity in any form. Gossip, thought processes, people, places, substances. Whew. Wow, this is like a lot. This is more than I expected. Well, to be honest, I guess I didn't really expect anything, but it's more than what is typical. So this feels like I could probably still go on and on and on, but for the sake of keeping this short and relatively sweet, I don't know, can we call this sweet? I think that this has a very sweet undertone that says, yes, we are rising into the new level of consciousness, but yet we are going to have to meet with the lower worlds. We're going to have to meet with this Pluto energy, this death, this fear, and can you be one of the people that holds a point of reference of stillness as the world gets tilted? And do you know who the people are in your life who you can polarize with? And we create a structure of stability as the illusion begins to fall away, as the shadow of humanity begins to be illuminated. Do you know who those people are in your community? Do you know who they are in your family? You might be surprised. Tune into that. Engage with your intuition. Do those intuition practices. Start meditating. Meditate regularly. Clear your body. Detox. This is a great time to detox. Be kind and compassionate with yourself as foundations are shifting and changing and we are rehoming ourselves. Work with your crystals and contemplate the twin flame union within inside of yourself, of inner union within inside of you, prioritizing this time to acknowledge and self-realize. One of these days I'm going to remember to ask at the beginning to like and subscribe, but please, it helps with the algorithms. I really love seeing in my last video that you did like. So please, let's get the numbers up. And as always, I'm so grateful to each of you for receiving this. If you really enjoy the way that these messages are delivered and you enjoy my presence, please consider looking at some of the programs that are currently offered, including the upcoming spring semester of the mentorship program, which will include transmissions like this, as well as cacao and sound healing and in-person community gathering. It'll be a very potent container that I'm looking forward to. So until we meet again, blessings to you with this full moon. May these transmissions serve you well in enlightening you to the parts of yourself that are both hidden as well as seen, bringing more of your light into your body and into this earth, creating a bridge between the heavens and the earth. Thank you. Keep it pure and stay simple. Pura vida. Pura vida. La familia. I love you.